Today continues now with the latest update from the region. Ministers across Asia Pacific gathered in the Philippines to discuss the effort of reducing disaster risk, initiated by the United Nations. Rahmat Idris brings us the details on this from Manila.
Yeah, well, here today at the Philippines International Convention Center, or PICC, the very prestigious 2024 APM CDRR, or Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reductions, has started to roll out. Over 45 countries have noted to be taken part in this conference, and leaders from around the region of Asia Pacific for the ministerial level have all been present here in Manila, the capital of the Philippines, to sort of attend the conference and be able to put on the table all the achievements that these countries within the regions have been able to make in terms of reducing the risk of reduction. The official opening ceremony of the conference is scheduled to take place tomorrow here in Manila, with the current president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., or Bongbong Marcos, is scheduled to open the ceremony himself tomorrow morning. In the meantime, this prestigious APM CDRR 2024 here in Manila this year is held on the heels of a very successful APM CDRR in Brisbane, Australia back in 2022. This is a biannual event by the UNDRR, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reductions, where in Brisbane a special attention was taken and they were monitoring very closely the achievements of the agreed 2015 Sendai framework back in Japan, just to see how much of these countries have achieved in terms of reducing the risk of disasters and how much more they need to achieve in the near future ahead of the 2030, with the surge to 2030 becoming the central theme of this year's deliberation here in Manila. And just a while back, we had the opportunity to speak with the special representative to the Secretary General of the UNDRR, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reductions, His Excellency Kamal Kishore, here in Manila. And he had something to say about what to expect in the next few days to unfold here for the Manila 2024 APM CDRR, and how these countries have come together to sort of come to an agreement on how to measure the level of success, the level of achievements they have made throughout the years ahead of the 2030 surge of the climate change, and also ways to overcome and to reduce the risk of disaster. And here's what he had to say about this year's deliberation.
There are 5 issues that we have to bring up more compared to before. I mean, these are not new issues, but these are issues where we want even greater emphasis. One is really the whole issue of how do we finance disaster risk reduction. There is a lot of evidence over the last 2 to 3 decades that if you spend, 1 rupiah or 1 peso in disaster risk reduction, down the line you save 4 or 7 or 12. Yet not enough is being spent on disaster risk reduction. So we want to foster a conversation to scale that so that there is greater investment in disaster risk reduction.
Yeah, and it is also highly important to note that UNDRR, the United Nations Disaster Risk Reductions, have also stressed out further importance of these countries to abide by the Sendai Framework 2015, and that will become the main guidelines for the countries to be able to reduce the risk of disasters. And as the main host this year for the Manila 2024 APM CDRR, this very morning, a very special event on behalf of the host has also specially welcomed media. Over 120 members of journalists have hailed from all of these 45 countries of Asia Pacific to Manila to cover the entire deliberations of APM CDRR 2024. And the government of the Philippines was represented by 2 esteemed ministers here, known as the Secretary of National Defense Defense and the Secretary of Environment, who had this to say about ways to sort of be able to outreach the citizens in the far-reached and the geographically challenging areas or zones of the Philippines, sharing the same semblance with Indonesia as an archipelagic country to sort of raise the awareness of national reductions of disaster risks. And here are what they have to say about the achievements of the Philippines pertaining to that matter.
In the topography and geology of Southeast Asia and its regional Indo-Pacific environs, it's varied. The topographies, climatic conditions are really varied. Like in the Philippines, you have differences between east and west and north and south. And right now, all our paradigms of seasonality or of the seasons have gone out the window. So there is strength in numbers in case of disaster risk reduction, particularly in the case of response.
The rest, basically, we hope will evoke the intention to prevent harm to all our populations and our communities, and also to move forward and accelerate our work towards disaster risk reduction.
And the ASEAN-PDRR, or the Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reductions here in Manila will run through the 14th to the 18th of October 2024 and becoming a part of a series of meetings for the regional level of disaster risk reductions. Next up in a few months, the African level will take place, continued by the European level, and finally, mid next year in June 2025, the global platform of disaster risk reductions will take place in the time being. And we will be here in Manila to give you all the nooks and crannies and all the details for the upcoming days and the deliberations of the APM-CDRR 2024. From Manila, the Philippines, Rahmat Idris and Boni Mokalu reporting for TVRI World.